are two suggestions. Open your mind and go with the flow. It is my experience that integrating these two recommendations in your daily life is the first step to making the most out of college. As I look back, the range of lessons I've learned becomes clear. Some lessons were serious. I've learned the value of working hard at a job and the correlation between studying and test scores. I've learned that community service can be enjoyable and that simplifying life is incredibly liberating. Some lessons were in the classroom. For example, I now understand there is a difference between APA and FLA. I now understand the importance of booking an assignment prior to its due date, and that taking the time to talk to the professors and show some genuine interest will pay off tenfold. Some lessons were on how to get through daily life. I learned that not all clothing gets along the dryer, that cable and internet service do in fact cost money, and cooking a meal takes considerably longer than eating in the dining hall. Some lessons erred inside of mildly ridiculous. I learned that drywall is in fact penetrable. Drinking a gallon of milk is considerably harder than it sounds. And playing golf in a quad never ends well. I can't guarantee that you will all walk away with the same lessons as me, but I can guarantee you will all be brighter and more capable individuals upon your departure. And really is, if there's one thing you can plan on for the next 4 years, it's that you can't plan on anything. Because of this, the ability to accept and embrace life's curveballs is a characteristic vital to making the most out of college. A story that illustrates this concept comes from a friend who was born and raised in Albania. After it was determined that she would attend college in the U.S., she began looking at schools and universities across the country, and finally settled on Ithaca as a perfect fit. Ithaca was an ideal school because of its size, majors offered, and location in a large metropolitan area. Yeah, location in a large metropolitan area. It turns out my friend was a little confused on U.S. geography and didn't realize that New York was both a state and a city. It wasn't until she got off the plane at JFK and hailed a taxi that she realized Ithaca was in fact 4 hours away and not so close to the big city she once dreamed of. The reason I tell this story today is to illustrate that some of the greatest things in life happen when you never expect it, and only because we're willing to just go with it. Despite my friend's heartbreaking error, she gave Ithaca a chance and liked it so much she stuck around all 4 years. I promise that everyone in this room will be faced with surprises and uncomfortable events while at Ithaca. The difference between a mediocre experience and 4 years you never want to forget will partially depend on your willingness to just go with it.
It's my honor, on behalf of Ithaca College, to welcome to the student convocation the members of the Board of Trustees who are present today, as well as the staff and returning students who are here today by virtue of their role as campus leaders. Ithaca College is a special place because of your commitment and expertise. I also want to give a very special thanks to the faculty who are here today. It's a kind of down payment on their commitment to your education over the next 4 years. This is a faculty of enormous expertise and 100% commitment to teaching. Many of you have already met 1 or 2 of them anyway, but you're going to get to know them much better in the coming 4 years. Faculty who are present, I wonder if you would stand and turn and face your students. You are the heart. The faculty-student relationship is the heart of what goes on at the college. Will you acknowledge and applaud each other at this moment? Thank you. And to the students who are joining us for the first time. Whether as freshmen or as experienced college students who've arrived from elsewhere, let me say welcome. You're joining a very special community, and you bring to it experiences and perspectives that will make it even more special. I cannot help but wonder what I would have said to you if my 18-year-old self could be standing here today. What would the message be from someone who is your age, albeit from an earlier generation? What if I could channel that kid? What would he say? In order to find out, I climbed into a time machine one evening last July. I made a deliberate trip to my own past by by picking up a book I read in the summer before I started college. The book had seemed important to me years ago, so important that I talked about it in serious and hushed tones with my friends. They all read it too, and every one of us thought the book was speaking directly to us as individuals. I no longer remember the content of those conversations, but I do remember their urgency. We felt we were discovering something important about the adult world. It was a world that we felt superior to, but also felt intimidated by. The book is called Damien by Herman Hesse. And when I say I picked up that book again for the first time since I was 18, I mean I literally picked up the same copy of the book that I read then. I was reading it for the first time. I picked it up again when I picked it up last summer. And I won't tell you anything about the characters and the plot because they're pretty minimal and they're not what grabbed us. I will only tell you that it is a book about searching for meaning. The book describes the thoughts of the main character, Emil Sinclair, and it reports on his conversations with others. Some of the passages I underlined at that time include these three. I longed desperately to really live for once, to give something of myself to the world, to enter into a relationship and battle with it. And I wanted only to try to live in accord with the promptings that came from my true self. Why was that so very difficult? And wrap your head around this one if you will. There is no reality except the one contained within us. That is why so many people live such an unreal life. They take the images outside of them for reality and never allow the world within to assert itself. You can be happy that way. But once you know the other interpretation, you no longer have the choice of following the crowd. As I read on that July night last summer, I was 18 years old again. I did not just remember those days, I became that person. I experienced again the thrill, a feeling of growing power within myself. Perhaps it is the power of all consciousness. No wonder these ideas seemed so important. They were subversive. No wonder we talked about the book in whispers and talked about it only with friends we could trust. No adult would tell you these things, and surely no adult would even understand these things. That the external world has no meaning other than what you give it. And because of that, you have an obligation, a personal, individual obligation to discover what matters and to act on it. You already know that the most important voice you hear will be the voice inside you. Over the next 4 years, that voice will grow stronger and more sure of its direction. It will say some surprising things. It will be a challenging voice because at times it will tell you to embrace the uncertain and to follow a path different from what other people may expect of you. Look deep. Pay attention to that shimmering longing for an authentic existence that you find within. And try to live it. Last month, I remembered how scary that internal voice was when I was 18, and I remembered that I sometimes told it to stop talking. I can tell you now, from a much older perspective, that whenever you do listen to your voice, you will never regret it. Class of 2013, I look forward to watching your voyage and listening to your voice over the next 4 years.